Welcome back to another episode of the Grizzly Brothers podcast. This one, I'm looking forward to this one. We're on a bear streak here. So we have Seth Watts, Mr. Black Bear Pursuit himself. If you haven't seen him on social media, this guy has the craziest pictures and videos on trail cam. I don't know where like the Garden of Eden spot that you have your trail cameras, but you get the best pictures and videos I've ever seen. So it's really cool. It's been fun following your kind of time, your trajectory, and seeing all the stuff you're doing. So yeah, let's just, if you don't mind, just kind of introduce yourself and talk about like what launched Black Bear Pursuit and what it is and what your goals are. And we just want to hear about it.
Well, that's a lot to unpack. um, my name's Seth Watts. I live up in Northern California. Um, I'm just like you guys. I have a passion for the outdoors. I have a passion for. I think have my biggest passion is for the wildlife in California. Um, I think California is extremely overlooked as far as opportunities to hunt in California. I think that that's kind of why I started like my social media stuff was as I got better at maybe finding, mostly bears and, occasionally I capture some good deer on camera and stuff like that. I just, I compare it a lot to what I see online and what I've seen out of state just personally. Um, and especially our bears are just I think they blow away almost every other state as far as like our the sheer size and just I mean, if you want to call it a trophy animal, if you want a trophy black bear, you would really come to California and hunt a black bear because I mean I've hunted Idaho, I've hunted Montana, spring bear, and they don't even compare. I mean, it's almost like comparing a grizzly bear to a black bear, honestly, like size wise. I've killed some pretty mature bears in Idaho. Like I killed a 13-year-old, um, and then my 5-year-old bear here was almost twice the size. So I think back in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there is when I had my first black bear encounter. And I've talked about this before on other podcasts, but um, it intrigued me on why that bear was there because it was in a spot that it was in the foothills of California where I would have never thought I'd seen a bear.
Mhm.
And so at that point I'd always bought in a bear tag just out of like, hey, if I see one.
Mhm.
And that moment just I mean it lit a fire in me. I wanted to know more about why those bears are there. And I mean a lot of people followed me a long time, and I like hunting the foothills. I like hunting that lower elevation. Um, Especially for bears, even though it's like super hot and brutal. I think the bigger bears are down low, and I think it's basically food source probably, but um, not that there's not bigger bears in the higher elevation, but I see consistently more big bears in the foothills than I do like in the higher elevation.
Mhm.
So um, I think a lot of people kind of probably know where I hunt or general area, or they think they do. Um, and over the last couple of years, I've been bouncing around quite a bit in different zones in California. But yeah, man, the foothills, that's like my bread and butter. Like I seem to just have a knack for turning up bears in those areas. And so I think like 2018, 2019, my sister was like, you're becoming pretty successful and you're in your hunting stuff. You should start a social media for California. And so that's kind of how, if you want to call, Black Bear Pursuit, uh, started. I just kind of started it. And then shortly after is when the Humane Society, I think it was the Humane Society. Like, there's so many what was his name? The Senator Wiener guy did it, and the Humane Society's done it a couple times. I think it was the Humane Society, um, and I kind of got involved in that, and that kind of helped my social media grow because I was kind of a one of the
Are you talking
advocates
about,
for.
are you talking about pushing back against the anti bear hunting movement?
Yeah, like was it 252? Was it that one? That was that. I think that was the Senator Wiener guy, and
Yeah.
then the Humane Society when they're trying to take it away, and then that's I think that's how for Wildlife came. Like was that 2020,
Yeah.
21, somewhere in
Somewhere.
there.
Yep.
And so like I knew Charles and and now Mike's a part of it, and so uh, I think that helped my stuff grow. And then obviously I run a ton of trail cameras. I think people like to see what I'm seeing, and
Hmm.
I like to showcase California. I mean, as dumb as people think that might sound or hate California, I mean, I think we probably have more haters in our own state than we do out of state. But
Probably.
um,
It's true.
oh, no big deer in California. That's total BS. In fact, which you guys just smoked a nice was that 4x4 the other day?
Yeah, A zone, man, North A zone,
Yeah, I
big
mean,
old fat 4x4. 100 gonna go. I just dropped it off at my skull guy. He said he'll go easily 130 inches.
yeah,
Colombian blacktail A zone buck, like
yeah. I
crazy.
mean, to a lot of people, once in a lifetime deer. I
Yeah,
mean, especially for California. Are those deer down there? Are they like up here, like depending on which side of I-5 you're on, they'll score it or they won't score it. It's because it's technically a hybrid or could be a hybrid.
right.
Um, is that how that is down there, or is that a true Columbia blacktail?
It's a true Colombian blacktail over here.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, stud buck, but everybody seems to think there's no good deer, and for me, I probably don't say it because I don't want to sound rude, but get off the road.
yeah,
Go a little deeper. I mean, I know uh, that's. I mean, I used to be the guy that I didn't go very far from the road ever, and mostly it was just kind of an intimidating thing, or I didn't want to do it by myself. Um, and when I started running cameras, it led me deeper off the roads, and now there was part of me I was nervous about being in the mountains by myself, and you know, but now I don't think about it that much unless it's dark, and
that's
then
when
I
everyone
get
gets to
and
thinking
then
about it.
I get a little spooky when it's dark. But um, no, I mean California. I mean we have probably some of the best over the counter tags,
Hmm.
especially for deer hunting. I mean obviously the bear tag covers the majority of the state, but deer tags. I mean I could name 4 or 5 zones that I know hold giants. You
Hmm.
know the deer hunting thing's not necessarily my thing, but um, I do it. I just don't enjoy it as much as a big old bear that's a nightmare to dig out of a hole.
You're not kidding about that part. They
No, I mean I've killed a couple.
hit different, man.
I've killed a couple that I'm like, why did I shoot that thing down here? And in the moment, a lot of times you're kind of like, man, this sucks. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done.
Yep.
But once you're back to camp or almost back to camp, or you look back on that, and I still look back on every bear that I've ever taken and been like, that's the coolest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
You know, but in the moment,
Always
it does suck. I mean, I know
with the
I
order.
always tell people don't don't go kill a bear by yourself because they are challenging. There's no horns to grab and drag them to a spot. They're just they're like jello. They're hard to roll around. And then there's a lot to take out. There's depending on the size of the bear, the hide itself and head, they're not light. So and then if you're hunting during archery season, now you have the heat to battle with and trying to take care of the meat. So I always try to encourage people hunt with somebody. Like when I do archery hunting, I'm usually hunting within a few miles of another guy I know that if he gets one down, I'll go help him, or vice versa, just because you're limited. I mean, you have hours. You don't have all night. I mean, even up here, where I'm at, and during archery season, it's not that cool at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna spoil.
So you were, yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because you said you like to hunt some of that kind of lower elevation, and it'll come August when season starts, it's still hot. And I remember my butcher telling me the first bear I killed, um, I brought it in, and she was like, "Don't shoot bears in August, just don't." So she told me, she's like, "It goes sour so fast, like bone sour." So what do you recommend for hot weather hunting? Um, are there any methods to preserving that meat?
A sharp knife and quick work.
What
Um,
about what about leaving bones in versus not?
uh, I've actually never boned one out because I'm always uh, it takes longer, so you're there longer. Like I'm trying to just mostly it's just get the hide off,
Yeah.
get the hide off, and at least get in some shade.
Hmm.
I do the gutless method, so usually you can have the quarters off pretty quick, and hanging in a tree. You don't even have to put them in a bag if there's not a lot of flies, you know, and so at least get them hanging and off. But that's, I mean, there's kill them on the road. I mean, that's
Yeah.
if you're there, it's just you got to be quick, and then that's hard to do, especially if you're trying to like cape it out nicely, and and then get as much meat as possible. Try to get the tenderloins are kind of tricky to get out if you go gutless.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I go back to don't be alone, and I've
Yeah.
actually, like I said, I usually have somebody that's within 30, 40 minutes away, that if they can get to me, they can, we're in way better shape because it's one pack out instead of two or three. um, but no, like I lost a bear in 22. um, that one still bothers me. I probably literally think about that hunt every day. And then in 23, I lost part of the meat, um, because of what happened in 22. So like in 22, I shot a bear and hot as heck. Like I think the temperature that day was 105, and I'm down
Dang.
in the foothills.
Hard bear, right?
So I got that bear with my bow, and the
Mhm.
shot looked a little far back. Um, but when I actually did find him, I gave him an hour because it's actually the first bear I've ever shot with my bow that I didn't see die until 23 when it kind of happened again. But in 23, I don't know why that bear didn't die within 10 yards because I heart punched him. Right? I mean, I pulled the heart out, broadhead straight through it, and that bear in 23 went just over 300 yards, but straight downhill. So,
Mm.
but 22, I shot that bear. When I found him, he was alive and curled up in the bottom of a creek bed, and he charged me. He bluff charged me twice within 10 yards, and so um, I like crap my pants, literally. Like I thought I was dead. Um, I never found him because I sat down and let him kind of walk off. He just like literally like we stared at each other, which seemed like 30 seconds long, and I will never forget the look on his face because I knew he was in pain, and that's not, as hunters, that's not
Yeah.
what I want to see.
Mm.
And like he had that look on his face, like just leave me alone, go away. Well, once he finally walked off, I did hear him death moan twice, so I was like, perfect, he expired.
Mm.
But I never found him for 3 days, and actually my brother-in-law hit me up, and I was like, dude, I searched until dark and I never turned him up. So I don't know if like how your mind plays games on you in the woods.
Mm.
Um, I thought, well, maybe he didn't die. And where I was hunting was um, there was only really one water source kind of within that area. So I was like, if he's hurt, he's going to come to water. So I'm gonna keep hunting around here, and I'm gonna keep hunting him. And eventually, my brother-in-law was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come up, and we're gonna find that bear." So he came up. We retraced my steps. He ended up from where I shot him to where I found him the first time. He went 900 yards.
Wow.
And when he stood up, I could see my shot, and I'm like, "Man, that's not a bad shot." I mean, I had to have been like one lung.
Mm.
Um, but when we started retracing my steps, we got about halfway down, and you could smell death. I mean, you're like, okay, he's dead.
Mm.
And I knew that he would be completely spoiled. Um, sorry, kind of. I hate talking about it, but like it's real life. I mean, it's hunting.
Yeah, especially with archery. Yeah.
We found him, and I think this is what bugs me most is where we found him. I must have walked within 10 yards of him 50
Oh,
times. I just
That sucks.
never saw him for
yeah.
whatever reason. Um, and he looked like he'd been there a week. That's how, the heat, the hair was slipping off. I mean, so I called the game warden and I said, "Hey, this is my situation. What do I need to do?" And he goes, "Keep your tag and keep hunting. You did your due diligence."
Yeah.
And so I sat there and thought about it. And at the end of the day, I notched my tag because I killed him. So I
Yeah.
felt like, hey, I'm not, you know, I don't deserve to kill two bears, so I'm just gonna notch this bear out. And I'd actually watched that bear all summer on camera. He would use the same drainage, and he would walk. He ended up being 16 years old. He scored over 20. Um,
Mm. It's a
it was
big
like
bear.
20 and 4/16.
I can see why you're crapping yourself when he bluff charged you. That's a big boy.
Oh man, he was popping his jaw like the teeth pop, and yeah, that was not something that I wish upon anybody. I mean, it was. It still makes me nervous. And so, like that 23, the next year when I shot, I've never hunted out of a tree stand before until then. I shot that bear. I watched him run 30 yards. I thought he was going to just die. And then he took off downhill because I was hunting the edge of this little bluff, like a cliff, basically. And once I found blood, um, which you guys have probably killed enough bears to know that when you shoot a bear, at least in every one of my experiences, you never find really any blood for like the first 50 yards. Like it's just dry.
Mm.
And then once that cavity starts to fill up and gush out the holes, then you're in business as far as a blood trail. I mean, those are my experiences. So like when I eventually found the blood, I mean, he was like shooting out both sides. I'm like, okay, dead bear, dead bear. But when and it was dark by then because I got him in the evening. Um, he went down into some manzanita, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going in the manzanita in the dark. And
Yeah.
so I pulled out and went back first thing in the morning. My nephew had come to help me track him, and he's like, "Let's just keep pushing in there, man. He's going to be in there underneath that oak tree." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good, dude. After last year, if I mean, the amount of blood that was on the ground from that bear, I knew there was no way that he lived because of my prior year experience with the other one and how much he bled.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sure enough, we go in there in the morning, first light, there he is, right underneath the oak tree, like my nephew was like, and I'm like, so that bear, he actually did. One of the quarters was bad, and he actually held up overnight, which I was kind of surprised. But uh, yeah, I mean, those are if you bow hunt long enough, that's something you're going to experience, not just once, probably multiple times, especially if you just bow hunt your whole life. So for me, I haven't been bow hunting. I've only been bow hunting since 2019,
Mm.
uh, and that was like a spur of the moment decision where I was running a camera in a spot, and I was getting so many bears down this trail, and I was just like, man, this would be perfect for archery. And so I went out, spent the money, bought a bow, put a tree stand in there, got up in the tree stand opening day, and I was like, I've never even been up here with a bow and seen if I have enough room to draw back and all, like did I prune a little bushes or whatever. So I got up there and somehow I dry fired my bow. I didn't knock an arrow and I blew my bow up like literally like boom, brand new bow. I mean, I've been shooting it like a couple months. And of course, all the archery shops are closed or out hunting themselves, so bow season over. But stupid rookie mistake. Um, Always knock an arrow, guys. If you're listening, don't pull back like a moron. Yeah, that cost me like $700. So like that bow, it was a nice Matthews. So now I look at it like I'm like I got 4 grand into that bow. I'm gonna shoot that thing for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. Get your money out of it, man.
But
Well, I want to shift gears a little bit because we this might sound a little ostentatious, but it's just the truth of it. Most of our time hunting has been spent in the early parts in California has been the early parts of seasons, mainly because we fill tags. So it's that first like opening weekend to opening week, right? So we haven't spent a lot of time in late season observing animal patterns just because tags are punched. And usually what happens is we'll plan like that first week of season, time off work, family, all that stuff. And then come late season, we just don't, we either punch a tag or we just don't have time to get back out. All that to say, we haven't spent a ton of time observing animal behavior when there's been 5 weeks of pressure for deer and really bear too in rifle season. So
Yeah, and when you start getting that weather too, and like that's something I know a lot of people. I have some information on it and stuff, but I know a lot of people out there are really interested in when you start getting that late season transition. Like I guess a good. I'm sorry, just a commandeered your question, Clayton, but I'll add some things like what what are the animal behaviors that you see that are changing from bear, and what do you think that's predicated on? Is it like mostly driven by feed sources? Is it mostly driven by weather? What do you think causes behavior change, or does their behavior change later in the season?
I think it's a combination of all of it. I think that come early season for bears, it's hot, like you said. So bears are constantly, they have to have water. They're not like a deer where they'll go multiple days without getting water or can go without getting water. So, like a bear during archery season, um, this is all like my own personal research that I've, as far as like what my cameras tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my cameras are loaded with bears prior to archery, and usually the first 2 or 3 weeks of archery are still pretty good, but it does start to slow down. Um, and I don't know if that's pressure because when I hunt, I don't see anybody. I know that's like a big thing in California. Oh, I see too many people. I don't see that many people. Um, so as things start to cool off, as the weather starts to change, once you start getting into like late September, October, whereas it gets cooler outside, I don't think the bears are as active during the day like they are during archery. Um, so I could go check a camera right now, and 90% of the bears would be during the day and midday. In fact, all the bears I've ever killed, middle of the day. I have one bear in the evening. Um, so like between 12 and 3 o'clock, um, that's when I'm getting opportunity. And so they're usually active like uh, I'd say like mid to late morning, all the way until 3 o'clock is what my cameras will show. But then as the food sources are changing, depending on where you are in California, you got your manzanita berries are starting to come on. Like I've seen some of the spots I'm in, like they're green still, but they're starting to kind of turn. Um, dogwood fruit, which is something a lot of people don't really think about. Um, and then acorns. I mean, shoot, a lot of places I hunt all year have acorns from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So um,
That's
once
interesting.
fall comes and it starts, the weather's cold, then I would shift more gears to hunting towards like the evening. And then if it's raining or it's snowing, I won't even go hunt because bears hate weather. So
Yeah.
um, like, and I usually shift gears to start hunting deer in the fall anyway. So I don't really see that many unless it's hot out or warm, not hot, but like if it's not sunny, the chances of seeing a bear unless you bump it out of its bed is a lot slimmer than seeing one in archery season. And the other thing about archery season is you're kind of catching the tail end of the rut. So you got your big boars are still out cruising around, looking to breed and whatnot. Um, but I always tell people if you want a bear in California, you'll hunt archery season because it's just I see more of them compared to
Yeah.
rifle season.
Same
So,
with that.
but I
Yeah.
hunt completely different also, like rifle versus archery. So archery is more of a, I guess I'm like an ambush hunter where I'll just, 2 weeks or a week before the season, I'll check my cameras. And obviously if there's like a particular bear I really want to try, then it kind of changes. But like, I'm not that picky. I just want a mature bear. I don't want a little one. I want a mature one. I'll go wherever, whatever camera's the hottest. And then I know my chances are, better. So if there's like not a bear or multiple bears on that camera, like 3 to 4 days a week, I won't even go sit there. I'll pick the camera that has the action, and then I just sit all day, like from sunrise to sunset. And most of the time, except for, I mean, every time except for last year, because I had to deal with that fire up here, um, it's worked out. I've either seen a bear and had an opportunity or I tagged out. Rifle season, I switch more to spot and stock where I'm glassing drainages and, into the manzanita. And that's another thing people don't realize is bears will eat the manzanita berries, whether they're green, red, pink, or dead. They'll eat the dead ones. So
Mhm.
that bear I shot in 23, he was working his way up a ridge, the ridge right to me, and he was just eating dead manzanita berries. So they'll eat anything.
Vacuums. Yeah.
If it grows or runs from them, they'll try at it.
Something you
Yeah.
The
said.
that's one of the things that we've been capitalizing on lately, and I know Clayton said he mentioned it to you previously, but I'm interested to hear your take on calling them because that's kind of like our MO. Our thing is calling these bears, and we've just found it to be super exciting, and very very effective. We call and they come. Like we're positioning ourselves in areas like in your situation, it would be somewhere on a camera that bears are frequenting or whatever, and we'd show up there and call, and then here they come, like all the time. Um, and so, what's your have you had any experience calling? If so, what has it been like, and what's your take on it in general?
So I do have a call that I've had forever, um, but I would say that I've had no luck. But and this is would be a kind of a question for you guys as well. So do you think I'll answer your question? I promise.
No worries.
Have you ever called for bears in an area where there's no fawns? So since I'm hunting the foothills a lot, there's no fawns down there. So like I've when I have called, they don't act like they're interested. So I've always kind of wondered a bear that lives more in the foothills that's not maybe targeting fawns because they just don't do it down there versus a bear that's maybe in the higher elevation where the does are dropping fawns and they know exactly what it is. I've always kind of like wondered if that's my problem, as far as not having luck. I've never there is a zone that there's a good chance I'll hunt this year that I know an old timer up there and he's like, if you call, they're coming and they'll come running. So um, I may try that. I don't know because I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. I got a couple cameras up there on some wallows and stuff like that, to where I know they're gonna come in. But I don't know if I'll call or not. I might, just because it's. I've seen your guys' videos, and I talk to a lot of people that um, it's got to be a rush to watch that bear just work his way
Oh, it's so
in.
fun.
He's trying. They're trying to win you. They're trying to figure out, like, they're coming in kind of like. I mean, this is just from watching videos and from watching your guys' stuff as well. Like, they're coming in. They're trying to be careful, but they're kind of like, screw it. I hear something and I want it.
Exactly.
Uh, and that's something that I've never experienced, and I want to. It's just I've been successful doing what I've been doing, and I,
It took bear for me calling, took bear hunting. It went from something that I was kind of mildly interested in if it worked out in that way. You know, I've always been that guy that was a deer hunter and had the tag in my pocket in case I saw one kind of deal. And then even if I did see one, it was like I really had to convince myself to shoot it because I just didn't have much interest. Um, and when we
sounds like the majority of hunters in California. I have a buddy like
exactly,
that. He's like, I'm not shooting one unless it's 400 pounds, and I'm like,
yeah. So that was me, and then we started calling them, and it just I mean, it's the same reason why everyone loves elk hunting, you know, because you it's a rush. You call them in. It's just this whole thing, you know, and the communicating with the wildlife deal. But that's what kicked it off for me, and since then I've been like addicted to calling these bears.
have
It's
you ever
so
had
fun.
have you ever had a buck come running?
We've had a lot of does come running.
No
Clayton
bucks.
got charged to buy a buck once,
I
one
I've
time.
did.
heard
It
of
was
people saying that a buck will come running in too.
that happened for me. I was actually bear hunting a week after the season closed, and it was one of the later seasons in NorCal. So it was November. So it was pushing mid November when I was out there, and I called, and something came charging up the hill out of sight from me, and I thought it was a bear, and it was a little buck, just snorting and stomping and just charged straight in. So yeah, it happened one time, but it was late season, kind of pre rut. So
Yeah, I think it's something that, like, I always have my call with me, but it's like I'm always afraid that, if kind of like the way I hunt, that I'm gonna scare them off. I'm hope they're bedded, within like 500 yards, and they're just gonna run that trail that I'm sitting to go get water or go bed or go to the food source. So I'm always like, man, and I've never gotten. I don't want to use the word desperate, but like I've never gotten to the point where, like, okay, I'm not seeing anything. I better just try and see what happens. So one of these
We've
days, I'm gonna do it, and just I almost went this year, a couple of weeks ago, with a buddy, up to that unit I was talking about, and I go, let's just go up there and see if we can call some in. Let's just go spend a day up there, and we never ended up going. Um, I ended up going, but I didn't. I was dealing with cameras and crap like that. So
So
well,
speaking of
the main issue is the call. You need to upgrade your call. I'm just kidding, but
hey,
no,
hey, you know what? You could be totally right, or it could just be me using the call.
the color.
I mean,
that
have you ever do either one of you have more luck than the other? Do you call the same? Does it sound the same? I mean, I know you guys have your call, so is that does everybody sound the same when they use it? I guess is what I'm asking. Or can you do your own little pitch and
I think there's minor differences, probably not super discernible, and I we haven't noticed any difference in the callability of the bears. And for us, every bear that we've ever seen, with the exception of one bear that I saw last year, that we've ever seen and called to, has come to us. Every single one of them. And we blind call a lot, and they just come running out of the woods. Matter of fact, a couple years ago, I killed one that my buddy and I were mostly deer hunting a particular spot, walking around looking for a buck. We were archery, and before we turned and walked off, he was like, "Hey, let's just toot this call for a minute and see if any bears show up." So we did it, and as soon as he blows the call, a, a sow stands up out of her bed. She was like bedded 200 yards away. She just stands up out of her bed and just like instantly, you know, like what was that? and we would have just we'd have walked right, turned around, went back to the truck. We never knew, And second call, here she comes on a line straight in. So, and it's like you said, most of the time they come in, they know exactly what they're coming for. Mostly they throw caution to the wind. Every once in a while, if it's convenient, they'll kind of go head toward that lee side. But most of the time, they're just coming right at you. And I think it may we had a podcast with Cliff Gray a few days ago, and we talked a lot about this also. And I think there may be some factors in there, some like local factors on how much fawn predation is going on. And if you're in an area that fawns aren't hitting the ground, I mean, they may be affected by that, but there's also that element of, they're hardwired predators. So they've got that instinct in them when they hear that. But honestly, maybe some in your area, you may try like a rabbit distress, honestly. I've
Sounds
seen
good.
guys call bears in with a rabbit distress.
I feel like my fawn call sounds just like the rabbit call.
Oh, you got the wrong phone call then.
No, I just I
Yeah.
agree with that. Like they are a hardwired and they're a predator. I just feel like if they grew up in that area their whole life and that's just not something that they experience, like as mama bears teaching them, that maybe
Right.
they're not going to forget, but like maybe it's just not something that like piques the interest, like where it would at a higher elevation. But I've just never had the luck, like in the lower elevation, and in the higher elevation I've just never tried it. So no, I think I've watched your guys' stuff and I've thought, um, man, I need to try that. I want to try it. So
I think you're right about that though. There's probably some regional influence there. So if you're in the high country, I'd encourage you give it a whirl this year. That would be cool to see.
yeah, and where I live, like I can be in the high country just as fast, almost as the low country as I want. I'm in a kind of a cool area to where I can be in I can be in hunting spots from my house in less than an hour.
Cool. That's
So,
awesome.
but not my good spots. You know how that works. Usually the good
Yeah,
spots are just like
back in a hellhole somewhere.
a nightmare to get to. But and then most of the time, like I've been back there 7, 8, 9, 10 times already. Scouting that like when the season comes around, I'm like not looking forward to going back in there. But you know,
The
it
game we play.
it's an evil game of emotions.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys do this year with your calling. Uh, I'll have to pick one of those up and see if it's the trick. If
We'll shoot it up. Maybe it's the magic flute.
yeah, you guys,
Yeah,
it looks like you guys have been selling a ton of them. I've had a couple friends I think that have bought them.
yeah, they're going pretty well, and they're super. I mean, it's super effective. We worked hard on developing the exact sound that we wanted to replicate. It's like a pretty realistic fawn sound. If you do it right, of course, it's like every call. You can mess it up, but they're great. They're great calls. They work well, and people like them. So
Do
it's been great.
you guys plan to do any different like varieties of colors, like a hunter orange one?
I think we will. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're kind of in back and forth about that. We may do a couple limited runs of different colors. Orange, maybe a camo or a green or something. Different ones, maybe.
I know my brother-in-law lost his call. He didn't lose it. He just left it there, but probably because he didn't see it. It's brown, and you set it down and glass in, and then we walked off. Whereas
Yeah.
if it's orange, I think I've always kind of like my knife. It's got an orange handle, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, visibility. Well, I want to shift gears again, and I have a question for you. So, if you were if you were teaching a class to guys who had never hunted bears in their life, they show up and they want to learn from you, and they want to know what am I when I get to the woods, what am I looking for in terms of the best sign? Like, how do I know it's fresh? What am I looking for if I want to set up a camera? Where do I do it? How do I know a bear has been using this area a lot? Like, what would you tell a group like that?
Like Finding Bears 101.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a couple pointers.
Well, it's not that hard to find bears in California, for the most part. But
Open your eyes.
I do get people that'll hit me up and ask me, hey, I want to get a bear. What should I do? And I always tell them, I'm like, hey, buy a couple cheap cameras. And one thing that I have noticed is when you're looking for a game trail, I've noticed most of my bear activity, they're not on deer trails. Like they use their own trails. In fact, I have a small drainage that um, the bears use one side, the deer use the other. Not that you won't have them vice versa, but like 95% of them, they don't like they stay on their own side. Um,
Interesting.
I think kind of what my bread and butter is, and what a lot of people know me for, is finding the stomp trails,
Hmm.
the bite trees, the rub trees, which I'm sure you guys have seen some of that stuff while you're out hunting. Um, I think what happens is a lot of people, they will find those trails and they'll put a camera on them, and they won't be maybe as active as what my cameras look like. And I always tell them, like, dude, I'm running a ton of cameras, so like I can pull videos off my phone all day long. In fact, I have a 1 terabyte phone and it's full. Like I have to, it's
Wow.
got like 5,000 videos on it, and I should delete most of them, but it's actually what I do when I hunt every year. Is when I'm sitting, I'm just going through my phone, deleting stuff. But um, so some stomp trails produce and some don't, or some produce early in the year and some produce later in the year. So bouncing your camera around in an area that you think or have bears, um, that's where I always tell people to start. I'm like, if you think there's bears in there, and you just, like most of us, I don't have unlimited amounts of time off of work to where I can just go up and scout all the time. So that's where cameras come into play. I'm going to let the cameras do the work. I usually let them soak for a couple weeks. I'll go check it. If I don't have anything on it, I pull that camera and I move it. Even if it's only got one bear, I'll pull it out because it's not enough. And usually there's more than one bear in an area, so um, the stomp trails for me is what I look for. I look for that even over just bear crap. I'll find bear crap, and like to me, it's like it's a good sign to see, but like I want the trail. I want the stomp trail that they're, those trails are usually generational, and usually the same bears use those same trails every year. In fact, I have bears I've seen on some of my trails for 4 or 5 years. I just can't kill them because they're smart. But
Mm.
um, the bite tree is usually something that you'll see where they kind of they stand up, they kind of lean back, they'll grab the usually it's a young tree, and they're biting the top, and ultimately ends up killing that tree. And then some of your bigger trees are more of like a rub tree. And I have one rub tree that just produces year after year after year, and it's just and by big bears. Um, but they seem to just disappear right before the season, and I've never been able to figure out where they go. It's pretty close to Sierra Pacific, so with Sierra Pacific closing every year, I kind of I still run a camera there, but to be honest, it's mostly just to see what's there. I kind of keep tabs on those same 4 or 5 bears that seem to come back every year. Um, I think I'm just a little bit different than most guys, so I always tell them, I'm like, dude, find a trail. And those trails, once you see like one or two of them, they're hard not to see.
Yeah.
Um, and I have one guy who's been following me the last couple of years. He's been messaging me a lot this year because he started running cameras and he found some stomp trails, and he's like, "Dude, look at these bears!" And now he knows what to look for. He goes, "Man, I can't go hike through the woods and not see them." Whereas,
Mm.
like, I think most people walk right over it. They don't even know what
Mhm.
it is, or
Yeah.
they're deer hunting, so they're not paying attention to that kind of sign. So I know the first time I saw one of those trails, I thought it was a human because it was so worn into the ground. I thought somebody was actually walking in the mud. And then I came across the tree and and that's that actually that rub tree that produces every year. It's a pretty big tree, and I noticed it was all scratched up and chewed on, and I'm like, something. I'm gonna put a camera in here and see what's going on. And I run like 99% of my cameras on video, um, because I feel like that's the best way to identify different bears. Whereas like pictures, it could look like the same bear, but it could be three or four different bears because they all kind of walk just a little bit different. They all kind of, or they have a scar, or the some will have the white, some don't have the white, and so um, that's what I tell guys. I'm like, dude, go buy some cheapo cameras. Go find some of those trails. I mean, I would even say put them on a deer trail, but it's California, dude. There's where there's deer, there's bear,
Yeah.
and believe it or not, I'm sure you guys know this. Bears love walking roads. They love it.
Mhm.
And they're like you and I, the path of least resistance. If they can walk an old logging road, skid trail on national forests, or I mean, even Sierra Pacific, if it's open, man, set a camera on the road,
Mhm.
you know, and you're probably going to have some bears, and then you can kind of fan out from there. When I do find those bite trees, I will, since I'm targeting like the stomp trail, I'll start doing like a circle, and as it gets, I'll just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger until I find that trail or or another bite tree or a rub tree. So that's something I do is um, when I find some good sign. Feeding areas, I don't really. I mean, unless it's manzanita. I mean, that's really like where I'm at. If you're gonna target a specific food source, it would be manzanita and probably acorns. Dogwood by the fall is gone. Um, there is a sweet spot elevation. I'm
Don't say
sure.
it out loud.
No, I know, uh, but there is an elevation that has bears all year. You know,
Yeah.
it'll have more population certain times a year, but like there is an elevation that is a sweet spot, and I actually don't even hunt it that often, but I know where it's at if I need to go there. Don't say it out loud. You just asked me to tell somebody, where to go.
You can say whatever you want. I don't care.
No,
Uh,
no. I mean, I,
it's interesting because I think that's where you get, like you were mentioning, your lower elevation areas. You get a lot of those bigger bears, and I think it's because they're hanging out all year long there
all year.
and just getting fat and huge, and they don't have this big kind of, I know, term or hibernation, whatever they call it, phase where bears in the higher country are hiding out for a long time. These jokers are just fat and sassy all year long.
So my thing was when I was in those lower elevations, and still when I'm down in there, I'm always like, what the hell are they eating? There's no, it doesn't seem like there's anything down there other than acorns. There's like a berry they call it. I don't know what the scientific term, but it's like a coffee berry. They start green, then they turn red, then they turn black, um, and they are called a coffee berry online. Um, if you can find those, whew, man, those are there's going to be crap everywhere for one thing. I don't know, it runs right through them, but um, and I've talked to biologists. I'm like, dude, what are these bears eating down here? Ground squirrels, I guess, rabbits, pigs. Um, now we got wolves. Uh, not that they're eating those, unfortunately, they should be, but um,
It'd be nice.
no. Yeah, I don't know what they eat to get that big down there. Other than like I said, like some areas, just there's so many acorns they can't eat them all. So
That's what I've heard from a lot of people, is that the bears really just gorge on the acorns, and that's what we found spots that we hunt that may be more like conifer forests. You find those patches where you start getting into that hardwoods and the acorns are there. They are just they're thick, man.
that's the elevation
Yeah,
that right.
that transition
I mean,
zone.
it's in the middle. I mean, you can go figure it out. But yeah, I got a bear in 2020, and he was just underneath an acorn tree, just and we cut him open, and I'm like, I want to see inside his stomach, and it was just solid acorns. I mean, it was nuts. A lot of people don't know that uh, bears will they shell them like you eat sunflower seeds, and so if you cut their stomach open, it's just what the white meat of the acorn. So
Oh,
they don't
interesting.
just eat them whole. I mean, they might eat occasionally, swallow one, but um,
That's
they shell
interesting.
them.
I didn't know that either.
And I've noticed that like the lower elevation bears seem to have more worn teeth, and I think that's from. I think it's. I mean, it's just personal opinion. I think it's acorns. If you're going to eat, it's kind of like the bears in Idaho. They seem to have really bad decay, but is that because they're just eating sugar and bait? I don't know. But they always seem to have rotten teeth. Whereas like the lower elevation bears here, their teeth seem to be more rounded off. The molars are way flatter. Um, Versus like a higher elevation, and I mean, when I say higher elevation, like I never really hunt much higher than 6,500 feet. It's kind of as high as I go. Um, this year might be a little different, but there's not that many acorns up that high. You got to go a little lower for that transitional.
Hmm.
But that's something I've kind of noticed.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, a lot of the bears that we've killed in that 6,500 foot plus zone, I haven't noticed. I mean, I think their teeth have mostly looked pretty normal, nice and sharp, full size teeth. I mean, every once in a while you get an older one, they're going to be a little more worn down. But the younger bears that we've shot have been real regular, nice, sharp teeth, not worn down. But then you're right about that. I've noticed you go down to those lower elevations, even a younger bear is going to have some a little bit more round. That's got to be it, unless they're on something, chewing something, or the hardwood they're chewing on is harder or something. I don't know.
Well, I've got a question for you. Have you ever seen on your cameras or in bear droppings or anything them eating bark, specifically pine bark?
Mm,
I've only seen it one time, and it
I've
was in
never
a.
seen. I've seen deer hooves. I've never. And I will when I find if I find some bear crap, I will kind of sometimes, not all the time, but I will kind of push through it just to kind of see, hey, what are they eating? Maybe they're eating something that like I'm not paying attention to.
Mhm.
Um, but mostly, I mean, when I find bear crap, it's either in the spring, so it's got just a ton of grass in it, or it's late summer, fall, and it just looks like manzanita. I
Yep.
never really find, you know, stuff. I mean, I've seen the deer hood, like fawn, or I guess it could be an older deer too. But I've seen straight up hooves in their poop, where I'm like, geez, that must have been a tough one to pass. But like,
Fun.
um, I've
I,
never
I,
seen the bark, or I've just maybe I've never looked that close.
well, I've only seen it one time, and it was right after it was a fire that had happened maybe 6 months prior or less. And so the ground was, and it was a hot fire that moved slow. So the ground was just soot basically. And there was nothing green down there. It was down a canyon, but there was tons of bear sign. And I saw, and it was clearly bare. It was just wet and slimy, but it was all chunks of the conifer bark. It was. I'd never seen anything since like
Well,
that. So
maybe they were after ants. Um, I mean, you've been through the mountains, you've seen the stumps that are dug up. So if they're
mm-hmm.
eating ants or termites or any kind of bug living in that tree stump, I'm sure they're going to digest a little bit of wood.
It was a
Um,
lot. Like it was just a pile of bark. It was just bizarre.
yeah.
Anyways,
Maybe
yeah,
there was some mineral in the bark or something after it was burned that they were after. Who knows?
yeah,
It
maybe
sounds
both.
like a tough splinter to pass, in my opinion. Uh,
Another question, kind of piggybacking off something you said earlier about seeing multiple bears and how multiple bears will live in an area. So I've heard two schools of thought on that. And our experience has been the same. Like we've pulled last year, we pulled three bears, harvested three bears off the same hillside, relatively small area. So let's say you have a half a mile by half a mile square. It's good feed, good cover, good water. How many bears are going to frequent a smallish area like that?
well, bears are not super territorial. Like the only time they're really gonna like get on each other's nerves is during the rut. Then the big boars will be pushing each other around, playing, you know who's the biggest and the toughest because they're trying to breed. But when the rut is over, like you said, you can see 4 or 5 bears in one drainage as long as there's enough food. And that doesn't mean that another one of the bears isn't going to go push a bear out of a patch, but he's not just going to like leave completely. So, I mean, I don't know. I was listening to the Meat Eater podcast today. I don't know if you guys saw that, where they were talking about California and the bear problems and bear densities. And, they were talking about a unit that has the highest bear density in the country, which was like 4 bears per square mile. Um, Shoot, man, I've been in areas that I think it's higher than that.
Yeah.
I have it. There was a trail that I was watching, um, and I kid you not, in a 30-day span, I had 32 bears, different bears, use that trail in 30 days. So
That's
like,
insane.
and it was during the rut, so there's a lot of bears, moving around at that time. Boars will travel a ton of miles, looking for a chick. So it was unbelievable to me. I couldn't believe it, and the only reason I knew is because I could watch the videos. So I'm like, different bear, different bear. That one has a torn ear. That one's got the scar. That one has the white. So you can identify them. But it blew my mind. That area burned now, so that trail, it's still good, but it's not as good. Um, Fires have been brutal up here. Dixie Fire burned 1 million acres. Um, what's crazy about the Dixie Fire, and a lot of people know I hunt in that area a decent amount, um, and I feel comfortable enough saying that because it's a massive area.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge.
I
Yeah,
mean, the Dixie Fire. I mean, it goes multiple C zones. It
It
goes
just
into
means
X
you're not in the
zone.
northeast side of
I mean,
California. That's all it means.
yeah, I mean, it's huge. And what's crazy is I've been in multiple units in a day, 3 units, and I'm in the burn scar, and that's how big that fire was.
Crazy.
Um, but that now I will say is probably some of the best bear habitat there is. So yeah, I'm sure a fair amount of bears perished in that fire, but like now that's like prime bear habitat. So whatever bears were lost will probably they're probably already back and then some.
I'm sure.
Um, did you guys listen to that podcast?
I did. What was it recent? Because I heard one.
I think it just
Like,
came out. I think it just came out today, where they're
oh, I
talking
didn't hear
to a BHA guy, and he talks about the petition that they submitted. But they were just talking about like bear management in California.
it. Mm.
If you listen to it, fast forward the first 40 minutes, and then that's where they dig into like the meat and potatoes of like the
I
bear
think
management.
that's every meat eater podcast is basically fast forward the first 40 minutes. You get to
you
what the
know,
podcast is
one
about.
one area that I think is an area that I wish more people would hunt. In fact, I kind of want to hunt it this year. Is I want to hunt up around Tahoe
yeah,
because there are some big, and I know that people will be like, oh, they're garbage bears, but oh man, there are some giant bears. I have a buddy running cameras up in that area this year, and he's not like right next to town. He's a ways away, but he'll send me some videos, and I'm like, geez, that thing is huge.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get up there for a while, man. That whole area. I mean, you go out anywhere around Tahoe. Like, there's actually a ton of national forest up there.
Yeah.
It's all surround. Obviously, it's just the mountains. It just happens to be Tahoe right there. You just go outside of Tahoe anywhere, you're gonna find bears.
Well,
Like, they're there.
and there's a myth out there that you cannot hunt in the Tahoe Basin. That's false, and I always thought that. And I was talking to a biologist years ago, and I go, "Yeah, it sucks you can't hunt in up in the Tahoe Basin." And she's like, "Who said that?" And I go, "Oh, just I've always heard that." And I think the probably Bear League probably started that rumor.
Keep them all out.
But I mean, there's some there's some that's probably your highest density of bears. Um, I don't know if I'd want to get one with an ear tag in it, but you know, there's some big bears up there, and I've just over the last couple years I've been branching out to new units, so that's one that I kind of want to try. Um, X zones are obviously some they're good, but basically it's archery because you can't rifle hunt an X zone, which is something that they need to change. Um, you can't hunt until like late October. Well, things
Yeah.
have changed up there between archery and then. So yeah, you probably if you're looking food sources, you could probably turn them up. But I think that's one of my biggest complaints with like our bear season we have now. Obviously, there's a lot I would change about it, but one thing I think that should be a no brainer is they need to change when you can start rifle hunting an X zone for a bear. So like if you draw, you know, X7A deer tag, you as a deer hunter can't even shoot a bear.
Yeah. Doesn't make
So,
Yeah.
sense.
like, if you
Yeah.
wanted to take the opportunity while you were hunting your premium tag because you saw a ginormous bear, you can't hunt him unless the season has started there. So, like, they should at least change that. Like, the deer
Yeah.
hunter that's hunting in there should be able to harvest a bear.
Yeah, at least. I mean, I get the idea of it is to keep heavy traffic out of the units that are premium units, and guys just run around saying they're hunting bears and poaching deer or whatever their reasoning is. But it's like, dude, where we're at with our bear population and management in the state, they need to really start cutting a lot of that crap out.
Well, and I think part of that rule of why it's like that is probably more for when we had hound hunting. So they
Oh, I get
probably
that.
did not want the hound hunter in there running their dogs while someone had a premium tag. Well, we don't have hound hunting anymore, so
Yeah.
change it. And the idea of there's a guy in there running around with a bear tag who's going to poach a big buck. I don't buy that. I don't think. I mean, has it happened? Sure, I'm sure it has. But does it happen that often? I mean, I guess maybe I have a little bit more. I think I have more faith in most people that hunters aren't out there doing stuff like that. I know there's always the bad apple, but like if we're gonna punish everybody for the bad apples, then they might as well just end hunting completely. So
Yeah.
um, I think that they should change that um, because I know that there's some X zones that I would go hunt early rifle season. And
Yeah.
is a couple bear hunters in a one unit or every unit gonna ruin the guy's deer hunt? Well, guess what? Stupid fly. Um, it's hunting. And so
Yeah.
you're never going to get away from everybody completely. I mean, I do hate the saying, "This is public land. I can hunt where I want." I've run into some guys before in the past that actually followed me down a ridge into a drainage and like literally followed me like 50 yards behind me. And finally, I stopped. I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we're going down here." And I'm like, "Dude, come on, a little bit of courtesy. If you want to go hunt off the next ridge, cool, but don't like follow me." Well, this is
Yeah.
public land. And I'm like, okay, you don't have any etiquette because if you were in front of me, I would turn around and go the other way.
Right.
Or I'd just sit and watch you bump something and then
Yeah.
maybe take the opportunity. But I'm not going to like follow you. So,
Yeah, it's there's always those ones. You're right about that. And everyone's had a bad experience with somebody. And, you know, usually I think people who are in the hunting industry and create those bad experiences for people, they end up creating that bad experience for the wrong person who gets really loud and complains to the right people. And then we end up with stupid regulations for really a bunch of nonsensical stuff. I mean, I about the bear thing, I can understand that with hounds. If I waited for 15 years to get my deer tag, and then some houndsmen were running hounds through my drainage that I've been watching a big buck, and I'd be pretty pissed off.
well,
But
and
you
I'm not a hound guy. Like I've
know,
never, I was gone before I got really into bear hunting. So like I've never experienced it. Um, and I don't want hound guys running through my archery hunt.
yeah,
So like I've taken heat in the past because I've always said, hey, if they brought hound hunting back, that would be great. But I would hope it would have its own season.
Yep.
And
Definitely.
and I'm nothing against hound hunters, but like I don't want to be sitting on my stomp trail and six dogs come running through.
Yep.
I'd be like, oh man, because they do have. I get they put a ton of work into their dogs and what they do, but they do have a pretty big advantage over me with a bow.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
so I actually think that the hound community would have a lot more support from the rest of the hunting community, um, if they would look at it like that. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of them don't. A lot of them are like, hey, why should we have a shorter season than you? And it's like, well,
Well, because you get the machine gun. That's why.
yeah, you got six noses.
Yeah.
But I do. I wish it would come back. I don't see us ever hitting the quota without well, I shouldn't say I don't think we will. There are a couple things that I think could get us to the quota. Um, I don't know if we'll ever get it though.
The quota is one of them. Our bear call is named the quota.
And that's
Yeah.
why we needed that. Like you were talking about California and the bear management stuff. I think we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot because it's hard to argue for a spring season when we can't even fill 1,700 tags when we have from August to December, and 70,000 give or take bears in the state. It's hard to make that argument. Like we desperately need a spring season. Like last year, what did we kill? 800 and something bears. So we're at half of our quota, and we're just not getting the job done.
Well,
So I think
but that's mostly because there's not a lot of bear hunters. There's not a lot
exactly.
of true, what I'll call true bear hunters who are like super dedicated. It's
Hmm.
like you were saying earlier. It's deer hunters who just buy the tag just in case, and then most
Hmm.
of the time they still don't even shoot one when they see it.
Yeah.
So
I am encouraged though because we've had a huge outreach since we designed this call and put it on the market and just have been more like bear oriented on our channel. We've had a lot of guys say, I've never really been into bear hunting. I got your call. I'm going out this year and I'm gonna tag one. Like I'm into it. I'm gonna give the bear hunting thing a shot for the first time. Like I a couple dozen guys I've talked to have said, I'm doing it for the first time this year. I'm gonna go after a bear. So, which is good and bad. As the hunter, you want to be like, no, stay out of my spot.
just don't
But
go
as
here.
yeah, go everywhere but where I am, okay?
But at the same time, like um, the spring season in the end will put deer hunters in the mountains in the spring with a bear tag. So like,
Hmm.
and just because like your bear hunters are the minority doesn't mean that we don't need more. I mean, our bear population, just for the health of the bear population, we need to hit the quota.
Yeah,
Um,
more
and
than
real
that.
and realistically, we could be killing 10,000 bears a year in California, and it wouldn't hurt the population. And I don't understand. I know it's all politics and feelings and BS, and I get tired of hearing, oh, we need to just chip away baby steps, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to fight this every year. It's
Yeah,
exhausting. I don't want
yeah,
to fight to keep it, and I don't want to keep asking for more. Just give us what we need to hit the quota. That's it. We're not asking for a higher quota. We can deal with that later. But like other states bait, have dogs, have a spring season, have a fall season, and have two tags, and they don't have half the population we have,
Yeah.
and their bear population's fine.
I honestly think even just giving two tags, allowing hunters to buy two tags, that would double our take because,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, there's a group of guys. Maybe not double. It would increase the take because I know I'd shoot two bears.
Yeah. Same
Clayton would
here.
shoot two bears. All of our crew would shoot two bears. So even if for conservation reasons, you know what I mean.
Let's
So
let's let's make a bet on that. Let's wager something on how many hunters actually take two bears, because I see it as, I'll bet we don't even fill. I'll bet there's, and I'm sure we can get the data. I'm sure I could ask Arjun, the bear biologist, should probably help me get it, or you can do a public records request. But two tags, is it going to help? Sure. How much? I don't think that much. I think that you'd probably have less than 100, maybe 100 guys kill two bears.
Really?
And partly it's just because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time off work. Plus, you got to pay to have it butchered if you're not doing it yourself. It's just how committed are they? I'm sure you
Right.
guys will kill two.
Yeah.
I would probably kill two. I don't know if I need that much meat. I'd probably do it for more of the conservation side, but like, um, I just don't see it. I see two tags in a spring season getting us close. Partly because
Well,
I feel like the spring season brings in out of staters,
right.
bringing out of state hunters with a spring season. Um, it puts the deer hunter who's not a turkey hunter in the spring out hunting bear. And I'll tell you what, man, if we had a spring season, oh man, I would have some of my most target bears dead and in my freezer because they disappear after spring. But I think one year, what was it? A couple years ago, we went over 1,000, so we were still 600 or 700 short of the quota, 1,700. Um, I'm still not even sure that a spring season with two tags would get us to the quota, but I think it would get us close. And I think you should be able to use the two tags how you want. If I want to shoot two in the spring, cool, or two in the fall, cool, or one in the spring and one in the fall, or um, if the spring was even a draw tag, like a pilot, let's do 500 tags for the spring. I mean, why can't we try that?
Yeah.
Here's an idea, and I want to see what you guys think about this. As far as motivating people to shoot a bear, because we gotta. That's what basically we need is we need more guys to hunt bears. So, what would you think if the department said if you fill a bear tag, we'll give you an extra preference point?
Oh, dude,
Oh
there would
man,
be so many bear hunters overnight.
So
yeah,
that would I don't know if it would get us to the quota, but like it would be an incentive
Yeah.
to, hey, I can go hunt over the counter tags, deer, and then I can, because I didn't get my premium tag, and then I can go hunt the over the counter tag, and boom, I got 2 points this year. I don't know what that would do as far as like point creep. That would probably screw a lot of stuff up. But
Yeah. I'll be like, hey, can I retroactively get all my
yeah,
points
can
from my
I get
bears?
I got some back tags I filled. No, but I mean, I'm like, why wouldn't that work?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's only 1,700 extra points that they're handing out.
I've mentioned that to a couple of people, and they're like, I kind of like that idea. Partly
That's,
because, hey, that tag that might take you 10 years to get, you could get it in 5 because
Hmm.
you could get 10 points in 5 years.
And
mhm.
you're helping out the state and the deer population and the bear population by taking some out.
Well,
Agreed. Is
eventually our bears are just going to get mange, and guess what? How do you get rid of mange? You kill them.
Yeah.
So it's either hunters are going to kill them. I'm not going to shoot one with mange. I don't want that bear.
Yeah.
The state will do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the other thing when I talk to the deer hunter guys is like, hey, did you? Well, I saw a bear, but I was deer hunting. And I'm like, you like to deer hunt that much? Oh, yeah, I love it. Well, then you should have shot that bear because that bear probably killed, you know, half a dozen or a dozen fawns this year.
mhm.
Plus the stuff the cats are doing. Now we got the wolves. I mean, deer have an extremely uphill battle in this state.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have wolves down where you're at, but they're definitely up here. Um,
Yeah. They're mostly on that east side as of now, but dude, those things are gonna go everywhere in a heartbeat.
I've seen wolves in um, Plumas County. I've seen them in Tehama County. I've seen them in Butte County. Am I forgetting another one?
See, they're in Sierra County for
In
sure.
Sierra County.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
I
and the wolf population is going to grow 10 times faster than the deer population and the bear
Yeah.
population because when they're having 4, 5, 6, 7 pups, I
mhm.
don't know what the survival rate is, but you know that's a lot.
Pretty high over here where everything's easy come for the wolves. I mean, black-tailed deer or mule deer are nothing for wolves, man. I mean, they just, you know,
I have
it's
I have 2 wolves on camera and they're chasing. I don't know. It was like 5 or 6 deer. Like I got the video. It's a cell camera I run on this ridge top, and I downloaded the video, and it's 6 deer running, and I'm like, not uncommon to see deer running on a camera, but I'm like, I knew the wolves were there, and so the next video comes through, and it's 2 wolves, and they're actually it's on a migration trail I watch. Um, the deer hit both cameras, and so did the wolves. So they were just following that migration trail. I thought that was it was kind of cool to see it, but I'm like thinking those and the wolves is kind of like a an old Jason movie where like the kids are running and they're running as fast as they can, and Jason's just back there walking slow, but he always catches them. So it's
Yeah.
like those wolves, they probably just tailed those, they just ran them to death
Yep.
basically until they just couldn't run anymore. Not that they killed all the deer, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got at least one of them. So
Wolves are the ultimate predator.
yeah,
They really,
I made that sticker. Actually, I can't even take credit for it. That D-list the wolf sticker. Um, this rancher guy gave it to me, and I was like, "What are you doing with these?" And he's like, "Oh, I just had some made to give to my ranchers." But I was like, "I'm gonna make a bunch of those, dude." And I think I've sold 200 of them. Not that that's a lot, but like I'm like, uh, it's kind of cool to see them. So
It resonates, that's for sure.
yeah, because it's
yeah.
well, and it's, I mean, I'm not even upset the wolves are here. I just want a game plan for our deer mostly. Like, hey, mountain lions are protected, uh, wolves are protected. We're not killing enough bears. Oh, and now they want to add. Now there's talk of bringing the Grizz back.
Oh
So
yeah,
you have
sure. Great idea.
the California Grizzly Bear Alliance. They're actively trying to lobby for that. Um, and don't be shocked if it happens.
Put them back in their native habitat is what I say. Right there in San Francisco and the Grizzly Bay and all that.
So I actually have talked with those guys. They reached out to me and they were like, we talked about it, and I asked them that. I go, so where would you guys put them? Because most of their natural habitat is gone, paved over, man. It's a city. So where would you put them? And they're like, well, the Sierras and up in the Trinities. And I'm like, so you're going to make, and I don't know historically how many were up in those areas. Um, Most of them were in like Marin County, the Bay Area, stuff like that. So like you're going to take a bear and insert it in areas that people don't want them
Mhm.
because I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be camping in a tent if there's grizzlies in the Alps, you know. So, and there's already rumors out there that there's a couple grizzlies up in the Warners. Whether that's true or not, I mean, I'm sure that's just, you know,
You
somebody
never
saw a
know.
big color phase black bear because some of them kind of look like a grizzly bear. That's another.
Mm.
That's another thing. The Argent deer, our bear biologist, he was telling me that our black bears have a small amount of grizzly bear DNA in them.
I wouldn't doubt that, man. We've seen some up north on the Cascade side that were like having a hump and stuff. Like we've got photos of them, and it's like that's a big old fat black bear with a big neck on him, and it's like and he's brown, and it's like I know there's not grizzly bears in here, but if there were, you could convince me with that one.
Well, but is that a gateway for them to end bear hunting in California? Because most of our bears are color phased, right? I mean, we don't have a
Oh
ton of
man,
what I would say are black.
Right,
So like,
brown.
oh hey,
Yeah,
we can't. We're gonna have to do something with the bear hunting because they probably have a bear hunting ID or just an ID identification test or just eliminate it. Like, oh, we got to protect the grizzly bear, and we don't need people shooting them by accident because they thought it was a black bear. But
yeah. No
man,
thanks for all.
I have multiple bears a year that have the hump and just their head size. Just I mean, some big old pumpkin head on it. And you're like, geez, you know,
Yeah,
it's they're impressive, but I think as cool as it sounds, bringing the grizzly bear back that's on our flag. 40 million people in the state compared to, I don't know what the population of California was back in like the teens and the 20s, but um, it wasn't 40 million people. So, you know, people hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, and it's not even really like about the human conflict side. It's we don't have the prey population anymore. We
Yeah.
can't support another protected animal that we know is going to eat the elk and the fawns. I mean, yes, bears
Mm.
can live anywhere because they can eat so many different things, but like they're going to kill deer. They eat meat, and they
Well, I mean,
probably eat a few humans also.
yeah, for sure. Um,
So I would
pro-
support it if they put them back in Marin County. If they're going to start,
Yeah.
I'll support that. Let's try it. I'll donate to that. But like, don't put them where they weren't. You know,
yeah,
and I kind of get tired of hearing, well, they used to be here and, stuff like that. It's like everything is evolving and it
Yeah.
is what it is. It's like the
yeah,
wolves. Um, they're not even the real wolves that were here. They're a timber
right.
wolf, which is bigger, stronger, faster. They're not the Mexican wolf. I don't know. I'm torn on all of it
Yeah,
because I like all animals and I think they're all cool. But like the balance in California is extremely out of whack as far as
That's
we're predator heavy. Um,
that's the problem right there.
it's,
If there was a really effective management plan for all species, and we were seeing it play out, it'd be easier to have these discussions like, okay, pro wolf, pro grizzly, if we're seeing balance across the board, but we're not. I mean, we've seen a 75% reduction in deer populations since the 60s, and a bear population that's exploding, and we're so slow to do anything positive in terms of scientific management. But then we're fighting bills every couple of years to like ban bear hunting. Like there's no science behind any of this, so you can't have any sort of a grounded conversation about bringing these predators back because there's no balance. There's no scientific reason behind it. It's pure emotionalism.
well, that's why, like I say, like the baby steps, let's chip away at it and ask for a little bit here and a little bit there. Like by the time we would get what we want, it's too late. Give us what we need. It's, and for the people that are like, oh, well, if we have a spring season, people are going to be shooting sows with cubs on accident. Okay, then bring back hound hunting because if you tree a sow with cubs, then you're not shooting it. Or, bait would be another way because you get to watch those bears come in. You get to judge them. You get to make the decision, which is most guys, I think, just, oh, there's a bear, bang. That's,
Mm-hmm.
so are sows getting shot in the fall that have cubs? I'm sure it happens, you know.
hmm
But like the whole spring, it's that's when they have their babies. I get it, but like like you said, science says
Mm-hmm.
we need to be shooting and filling 1,700 tags. So,
Also, here's the thing: I don't buy a lot of that because I don't know if you do much like waterfowl hunting or bird hunting or whatever, but
it's too
they,
cold.
I mean,
I'm like a bear. I don't like bad weather, so I just stay home.
well, here's the thing: they say, "Oh, the hunters are going to shoot the sow with cubs. The hunters going to shoot the." Well, I can tell the difference between a widgeon and a mallard 5 minutes after shooting light, going 45 miles an hour, crossing over my head because the color of the feet and this and that. Like hunters figure it out. We know what's what. We're not, you know what I mean? And they have bird limits. You can't shoot a scop this time of the year, but you can shoot it after November 21st. But a scop looks just like a ringneck, which looks just like and there's all these different things, right? And so it's like, well, we figured all that out and we followed the rules according to that. And you're telling me we can't figure out the difference between a sow with cubs and a sow without cubs? Like we're
Well, and
just a bunch of hillbillies
I
or
don't
something.
think that there's very many hunters out there. I'd like to say that there's none that are going to go kill a sow with a cub.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, legally, you can kill a sow and you can kill a yearling. Legally, you can shoot a bear that's a year old or 2 years old or whatever. They're not very big, but technically they're legal. I don't see people doing that,
Right.
So I mean, you'd have to be a pretty crappy person to do that. So it's just a bullshit excuse, like you said. It's
Yeah.
just a reason for them to be like, oh, the poor bear, And guess what? They are cute and they do have cool mannerisms. Some of them can act like your dog at home. I mean, they just
Hmm.
so I get why people are like, well, why would you want to shoot it? Or me, I like the way they taste, and
And it helps deer.
it's just something I enjoy. I guess
Exciting pursuit, man.
I don't
It's a
consider
predator.
myself like a just because I like to hunt. I shouldn't have to feel bad about it. Now, saying that, I'm kind of a baby when I do kill one. I don't think I've ever shot one that I didn't shed a couple tears, but mostly I think it's more. I don't feel bad. It's more the emotion of how much work I put in that season, and I'm like, man, it came together after all those weekends away from home, all the scouting, all the thousands of dollars I spent on batteries and whatnot, and everything just comes together. That's where the emotion comes from, and there is some emotion that you took the life, but like
Yeah.
that's what I think that the non-hunter doesn't understand is they think we're just a bunch of bloodthirsty murderers, and that's not what the majority of hunters are. I think that in reality we care more about the wildlife and we do more for the wildlife than any anti-hunter does.
Hmm.
You don't see the Humane Society donating any kind of money for research.
Right.
They're not. They're just putting it in their pocket. They just use it as it's like they fundraise, donate. We're fighting
They use it
against,
to build
and
their
they're just
platform.
pocketing it. They're not.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. We're kind of doomed at some point, I think, in California, but it
We'll
won't.
keep fighting as long as we're here.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to lose things without a fight, and Howl for Wildlife has done a lot. Um, it's cool to watch how they've grown, and it's been slower than it really should be. I mean, they should
Hmm.
have blown up immediately, and um, but they're doing out of every organization out there, and they're doing a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They've been amazing. Well, let's end on this note. Like, what are your goals with Black Bear Pursuit? Like, where do you want to take this thing? What is Black Bear Pursuit? Is it just the social media and what you're sharing, or
I,
what's your long term vision?
that's kind of a loaded question because sometimes I just want to turn it off. Um, I don't,
We've had those moments.
dude. I don't really know like what it is. Like it's just I like getting the messages from somebody who's like, I've been following you for 2 years. I've followed, most or some of the tips you've given, and then they send me that picture. I filled my tag because I was doing things you told me to do, or not told him, or just recommended it to try or whatever. And I think that kind of is why. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I'm just gonna shut this down. It's not like I'm doing it for a living. Um, I do some merch here and there, hats, shirts, and stuff like that. And I never did any of that until people started to ask for it. And so I was like, I'll try it. Um, and you guys do it. It's a freaking nightmare
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's a
because I
lot of work.
pack it all myself, So it's like I'm out in the garage for hours on the weekend, And but it is cool to see somebody wearing it. I had my buddy sent me a picture. There was some guy walking down Jackson Hole downtown. He's wearing one of my shirts. I'm like, that's kind of cool, you know.
That's cool.
So uh, I'm not doing it for a living. I never want it to be something like that. It's kind of a hobby, and I like helping. I like to think I'm helping people become successful, and I like to think that it's helping bear hunting in California.
Hmm.
Uh, whether that's getting people excited or just making people aware of it, like, hey, it's not. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So
No, it's cool. It's been really fun to watch. I know we've both. I mean, you can't be a hunter in California and not have your head in a hole in the ground and not see the black bear pursuit stuff around because you just got so many good videos and photos. I know personally, and I know a lot of people as well, just enjoy just seeing whatever you're putting up. Like just, everyone likes to see wildlife, especially hunters. We like to see bears. We like to see big bears. We like to see a bear scratching his back on a tree. You know, it's just cool to watch them,
Yeah.
well,
and
and a lot of
that's what
people
you bring
don't.
to everyone.
A lot of people just. I mean, I've run cameras in areas where I didn't even think there was any animals, and then you're like, damn, this is loaded in here. So
Yeah.
cameras have become super addicting. Um, they're fun to see. Um,
All right. How many cameras do you have active right
I honestly don't know.
now?
Because I lost a lot last year in the fire, so I've been kind of recouping.
Mhm.
Um, I have more non-cell cameras than I do cellular. The cellular camera thing's kind of taken off the last 3 years, um, and they are convenient because. But the thing is, uh, most of my cell cameras are in areas where deer are. Bears are always in the bottoms most of the time. So ridge tops have more deer, or at least they travel up there more. Uh, and bears are always in the bottom. So I gotta the cell cameras. If I can run them, I'm gonna run them because it saves me fuel. It
Mhm.
saves. It just saves a lot of work. Plus, shoot, I don't know how many times I check that app a day where I'm swiping it down. Um, it's fun to get it to your phone. I mean, I know it kind
Yeah,
of sounds lazy, but trust me,
no
I
problem.
check enough cameras by foot. I can't. I can't even check all my cameras in 2 days. Let's just put it that way. They're that spread out. I have to spread it out with multiple weekends to check them if I was going to check them. So like a week or 2 weeks before the season, I'll take a weekend off and I'll go check all of my cameras, most of them at least that I think, unless it's like in a deer spot.
Yeah.
In fact, I've I've invested some money in some cameras like my Sony handheld like photography camera and stuff like that over the last couple of years. Um, so you see a lot of deer stuff on my pages as of lately, the last couple of years, because I like honestly, I think I like hunting them with a camera more than I do. I've never archery hunted deer, but like I thought this year about not even hunting deer and taking that time that I need to take off from work and just wait until all the seasons are over and it's full blown rut and go into an area that I know that they're headed to the winter range and just photograph and film. Like I
Cool.
enjoy it that much. And so like
Yeah.
just above where I live, like we have a pretty decent sized little local deer herd. Um, some of them I guess you could consider town bucks and some of them aren't. I don't consider them town bucks. And they're in the velvet right now and man, there's some big ones in there and I'm like, and I wouldn't mind throwing an arrow or two at you guys, but they're fun to watch. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys know how it is. You don't get to see big deer like that once they turn hard horned. It's like poof, they're gone
yeah,
until
yeah.
until they migrate. So if I can get a chance to go, like lately, there's a group that I've been photographing. They're just fun to go see when they're there. Um, they border private and public, so they are huntable. I just never draw that tag. I never even put in for it. Maybe one of these years I will.
I think through our journey of filming hunts and stuff, that's one of the things that stuck with me the most too is how much I just really enjoy filming and taking photos of wildlife. I got a mega lens this year, and it's so stupid heavy, but man, the shots we can get out of that lens are
What
unbelievable.
camera are you guys using?
I run a Sony A7 IV, and Clayton's got a. What do you have?
I have the A7S3.
So do you have the 200 to 600 lens?
I've got I've got a is that a 200 to 6? Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
it's a 200 to 600.
The big one,
Yeah.
because like the next step up from that lens is like 10 grand and it's huge. You wouldn't even want it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, mine was like a I don't know, $4,000 lens. It wasn't 10 grand.
Yeah. So
It's
you probably have the 200 to 600. Um,
it's not a Sony lens.
well, it's not.
No. Um,
Is
and
it
you'd think I'd remember.
Sigma?
Anyway, huh?
Is it Sigma?
It's a Sigma lens. Yeah,
Okay.
dude, it's a dynamite lens. I absolutely love it.
Still
And
ain't
I
just a beer.
I end up cropping in a lot because with the A7 IV, there's such a beautiful sensor. I can get all the way to 600, then I can crop it in and get 900 basically, and get so tight on, and so crispy. And it's just something that I've enjoyed. I've done a little bit of like shooting waterfowl on the wing and landing and all. It's so I get that part of it. Um, filming them is half the fun.
Well,
Just
uh, I have the A7 IV, and then I have the Sony 2 to 600, and then I have the teleconverter, which turns that 600 into a 1200. And then, like you said, you can take, because that camera has what is it, 62 megapixel. I mean, so you can take that picture and crop it, and you're not losing much quality, if any. Because I'll have people go, "How do you get so close?" And I'm like, "Shoot, I'm not that close." And I
yeah,
cropped it, so it makes it look like I'm 30 yards.
yeah,
And that's what I mean. I never used to be into that, but once I started filming animals or taking pictures of it, and you can like see the ticks on them, you're like,
yeah,
"That's cool," you know.
yeah.
So
That's wicked cool
uh,
for sure.
that's become an expensive hobby as well. I mean, that's
Yeah,
Oh,
and I haven't filmed. I've tried to film, but since I hunt by myself, it's so
that's very
hard.
different.
I have like that one. I did a film with my buddy Matt in Idaho on his bait. It's not that great of a film. It's okay. And then I did one archery hunt, but like no kill shot, no bear on film because the bear came in and it happened so quick. I wasn't worried. I was like, screw the film, you know. So
there's a bear.
a goal of mine, that would be one goal of mine as Black Bear Pursuit is I want to make, and this might sound corny, but like I want to make a film about California bear hunting that is Brian Call level, gritty films. Um,
That's the gold standard right there, man.
well, I mean, dude, I mean, hands down, I mean, his films are they're incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a good storyteller, and then the video quality, and then I think one thing that Brian seems to be very good at is the audio. You could have
Mm-hmm.
crappy footage, but good audio, and that makes a world of the difference. Whereas like you can have good video, and if the audio's crap, they're hard to watch. So
Yeah,
that and I've talked with Brian and Brad Hunt. In fact, they were the ones that kind of pointed me in the direction of like the Sony stuff and told me kind of what to buy and stuff like that. So they're super good dudes. In fact, I've tried to get them to hunt out here, and Brad was going to come in 2023, and then didn't end up coming. And then I shot a giant opening day, and I'm like, that this could have been yours, dude. You know. And I even told Brian, I'm like, dude, you know what, Brian? I know he hates California like a lot of people. I told him, I go, dude, if you did a legit film here and you shoot a big old giant bear like I know we would do, it would probably be his most watched film ever, based on just out of curiosity of California.
That's true.
And
That's
I know
true.
everybody thinks that like California is a giant city, but you guys know, and most hunters know, there's so much backcountry of California, and it's probably, I'm not even gonna say probably, it is the most beautiful backcountry I've ever been in, and I'm probably biased because I've lived here and I grew up here, but like, and not that Montana and Idaho aren't beautiful, but like California is just different.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's just
And you've got every range of wilderness and backcountry types of area. I mean, you got everything from the alpine mountains with big granite, basins and lakes, and then you got all the chaparral stuff. You've got the coastal range. I get everything you can possibly want.
and we
So
got big ass bears,
yeah,
you know. So
bunch of them.
I mean, I've killed some pretty big ones to where the biggest one I ever took was in 2020, and it took six of us to get that thing back at camp.
What do you think the weight? Did you ever get a full weight on it? What do you think estimate it?
I get a lot of people that ask that, and honestly, including myself. In fact, I just had this conversation with a guy online. I think that, including myself, I think everybody overjudges as far as a bear's weight because dead weight, 100 pounds feels like 200 pounds.
Yep.
So, like
Yeah.
a bear that you think is 400 pounds is probably 275, 300.
I agree with that.
And they all, especially in Idaho and Montana, shrink when they're dead. They have ground shrinkage. I
Yep.
say that about Montana and Idaho because usually when you see a big bear in California, it's a big bear because their hair's short. Whereas you go to Idaho or Montana and you kill them, their hair's like sheep, so they look fluffy and they're big. And you're like, and we shot one in Montana in 2022 or 21. We watched that bear for an hour, and we're like, yeah, it's pretty solid. My nephew shot that thing. We got over to it, and we're like, did we shoot the right one? It was the only one there, but it was just the hair is so thick that like they're harder to judge than a California bear. So
Hmm.
I never have ever weighed a bear. I've never killed one close enough to a road that I could get it back. I've had to cut them all up. So
Yeah.
I always
Estimations
tell
is what it.
people, I go, I don't pack a scale,
Yeah.
and I don't really like to guess. But
Big.
if
Is
I
the
had to
place.
guess, that bear in 2020, back then I would have said 500 pounds because I mean,
When you were cutting them up.
he scored 20 and 8/16. His paws were just huge, and we could barely move him. But I'll bet you he was probably a smidge under 400. He was probably like 375, maybe pushing close to four.
That's a big old bear, man.
But like,
It's a big.
I don't know for a fact. That's just a guess. I don't. People post online all the time. I shot this 600-pound bear, and it's like,
People
okay,
don't
got
realize
it.
how big a 600
Did you?
is.
I always want. I don't. I don't want to be that guy, but I always want to be like, did you pack a scale? You had a
Yeah.
scale with you? Now, if I had one that I shot next to camp or something, I mean, I've always thought about taking like a portable scale because that would be interesting.
It would be cool to get that baseline. Like, okay, I know how big that bear was on the ground, and he weighed this much, so you kind of have a closer
It would
guess for
it
future.
would it would help you judge in the future. Um, yeah, so I do agree with that, and that's another thing that I kind of do is so like California pulls the tooth for data. Um, I pull my own tooth and send it to that lab in Montana because you get your results in 90 days. So like then I can kind of look at a bear and that helps me judge them to a point. And then definitely you can judge them when you look at their teeth. I've killed 10-year-old bears that shoot, I thought their teeth looked really good. And then I've killed
Hmm.
one that was 15, one that was 16, and their teeth were destroyed. So I don't think it's the best way to judge, but it does educate you a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
I've started to kind of wanted to do that with deer also. I've never aged any of my deer, and I'm thought, man, maybe I should start doing that because, you know, I mean, you guys probably know more about deer than I do, but like, is a 4 point buck? How old's a 4 point buck? Could they be a 2-year-old buck, but they just have 4 points?
Yeah. Yeah. They can be pretty young.
Yeah.
I mean, just all genetic. It all depends on because there's deer that their second year they're already looking big. I
Yeah.
mean,
Like they could be a,
third
they could
year.
be a 4x4 and at 2 years old.
Oh
That
yeah,
right there behind me on the wall, that bottom hanging buck, that's a 4x4, and he was a young buck.
Yeah, because I
Uh,
mean, I grew up as a kid. It was 4 points, 4 years old. And,
yeah.
2 point.
I
That's
mean,
because
there's
you
some
oh,
areas that may hold truer, but some areas that genetics are really good, they'll be forky their first year, and the second year they're sprouting off bifurcations off those forks.
so
You
the
know, so
so the buck you just got was a 4x4.
yeah,
How old do you think he was?
that one was older. I mean, he's North A zone, and there's mostly forks and spikes out here, so he was blessed in the genetics department. Just looking at him and the teeth and the head, he's already getting a Roman nose and all that. So, and a buddy of mine and the guy I dropped it off to do the taxidermy work, everyone thinks he's probably about 6 or 7. So it
So
was an older buck.
I've had a biologist because I've shot some deer with the Roman nose, and I've had biologists tell me that that's a seasonal thing. They'll get the Roman nose certain times a
Huh.
year, and then it goes away, which I thought was weird. That doesn't mean it's true, but coming from a biologist, I would hope it is.
Carry a little more weight, hopefully. Yeah,
But I
it's
shot
interesting.
one. I shot one 2 years ago, and he had a massive, I mean, major Roman nose. And then when I had him validated, that the biologist goes, "Oh, he's not even that old. He's like 3." And I'm like, "Really?" I go, "I saw the Roman nose meant they were older." And he goes, "Nope, that's a seasonal thing." So
Hmm.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's the teeth, I guess, on deer that you
Yeah,
really got to.
usually the teeth are the tellers.
I
Yeah.
never even knew that. I mean, I've known for years now, but people probably still don't know that deer don't have upper teeth.
Yeah,
They just use
yeah.
that bottom teeth to cut, I guess, or whatever, and then they got molars, obviously. But
They got that pad on the top that just like the teeth jump into it. You know,
man, deer are weird, man.
yeah, they are weird. They're weird critters.
What is your guys' plans for this year? You guys have your bear hunt that's coming up um, with the guy who won that. Is he a seasoned hunter or a rookie hunter?
He's more seasoned. This will be his. He's been hunting for a few years, but if he gets one down, this will be his first big game animal. He's a really good fisherman, but yeah, he's been hunting but hasn't gotten it done. Put it that way.
He's done a lot of like I guess fowl hunting and stuff in the past, but got into big game hunting a few years ago and has gone with a buddy of his quite a bit, but hasn't made it happen. Um, so hopefully we'll break the spell for him and let him lead him into the path of righteousness.
Well, I mean, you guys always seem to be in the animals, so I'm sure he'll have
we,
at
we
least
usually
one
get
for
it
you.
done, man. It's find your spots, and we kind of know our areas, just like you got some spots, and figure out. And then it's kind of funny because once you learn an area, it's something like I always encourage people to do. It like doesn't matter where you're at in the world, you can always find critters. And if you take your area and you figure it out, even if it's not the greatest area, even if the genetics are real poor, just figure it out. Figure where, if you're going after deer, figure out where your deer are. Bear, figure out where your bear are. Then once you learn, it's almost like they say, once you become a millionaire, it's easy to make that next million because you've kind of gone through the principles and learned like what it takes to find them and how they operate and all that. And then it's like you go to a new area, it's like, oh, you find them quick. And it's like, go to a new area, you find them quick. And it's like, okay, I got it. I
Yeah,
got the rest.
it's like it clicks
Yeah,
where it's like boom, all of a sudden you're successful. Doesn't mean you're gonna be successful every year, but like once you find that pattern, especially like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, figure your own area out. There's areas that I don't need to run cameras anymore. If they
Yeah.
outlawed cameras, I'd probably still be okay because I know them
Yeah.
now.
hmm
But I do it because I just like to see what's out there. I like to see
Mm-hmm.
that freak bear or that
yeah,
freak buck, you know. And you don't get very many of those every year, but a couple, and then that's fun to see, and it gets you pumped up for the year. So, so you guys will do that hunt. Will you do that like opening weekend type thing?
Yep.
yep, yeah. Opening
Yep.
weekend,
Opening
we'll
week.
be up there for several days because we put in for an elk tag this year and we had a good chance of drawing it, but we didn't get drawn. So we had time scheduled for that, but now that's off the table. So we'll be able to dedicate a little more time to our California hunts. But we're actually running 2 cameras up there this year for the first time in this area, and they're cell cameras, but there's no cell reception, so I have to wait with bated breath until August to go check them. But yeah, we found some stomp trails and stuff, and we're gonna have cameras up there for the first time.
So, what kind of trail camera is it?
So, gosh, I don't remember. There's 2 different brands. I could look it up real quick.
Have you ever run them like that with no cell service before?
No, you're scaring me.
So, most cell cameras, what will happen is if you put them out somewhere and they don't have service, they're just going to sit there and look for service, and they'll just kill the battery like in a matter of days because that camera is constantly trying to search to connect, and so they just
Okay.
die. Are they up? Are they up here by me? I can go find out where they're at. I've actually heard you say, Clayton. You talked. I don't know where I heard it. It's been a while ago, but you mentioned an area that you hunted or used to hunt within a zone that I was like, that son of a gun is in my area. I wonder if I'll ever see him up here.
I
It's
actually
not
haven't
my.
hunted
You know how funny that is to say my area. You know, hunters, we
Yeah,
do kind of get that way where it's like, this is my spot. I
yeah,
don't be coming up here, but I mean that area that you mentioned, and we can talk about that after we get off this. It's massive. I mean,
yeah.
it's but yeah, that
Well,
most
that's
cameras
where I grew
that are
up.
cellular will sit there and continue. Like I'll take a risk sometime where I'll have one bar on a camera
Mhm.
or on my phone. I use the Moultrie, which they're amazing. Um, but I've set them in low, so a cell camera's battery life, and this is something people don't realize. Cellular cameras are frustrating, like because when they work like they should, man, they're amazing, and when they don't work, and you're paying the monthly bill, you're pissed off, and you're like, I hate these things. But like
Yeah,
the lower the cell service, the faster it will use batteries. So if it's got great service, your battery's going to last a long time. If it's got low service, it's going to last not that long. If it's got no service, I mean, I don't know how long ago you set them, but chances are they're dead.
probably said it what 3 weeks ago, maybe
They're dead.
2 weeks ago.
Now,
Way to bring it back, man.
now that might work. You could probably do that if they were on a solar panel. But my luck with solar panels in areas where bears are, they tear them down, and then they
Yeah,
jerk the cable and rip it and jerk your camera sideways, and then it's doing nothing. I don't even I I've been trying to figure out how to run solar panels because I got some cameras that are like 6 hours from my house, but like every time I run one, the bears just rip it down within a day. So it's kind
And to get like a longer cable and run that panel like way up the tree or something
of well,
so you
I
can't
have.
see it.
They don't
Oh,
necessarily get the panel, but they grab the cable,
oh,
and
got it.
so once they unhook it, now it's just doing no good. Um, there's got to be a better way, and I just haven't figured it out. I know that with my cell cameras, I don't know if you guys have seen me post about it, but I built my own bear boxes out of plywood, like 3/4 inch
I've
with
seen
screws.
nails out of yeah.
Never lost a camera since. Like
There you go.
they may play with it a little bit, but those things are dynamite. In fact, I got like a dozen guys who they're like, hey, can you send me the plans? And I just send them the dimensions, and I know they're doing it, and it's working for them as well. I don't know how long they'll last being wood. Um, it's not the best
Long enough,
material.
man. You probably get a few years out of them at least.
Yeah, I think I have the oldest ones I have are like 3 years old, and they're still holding up good enough. I mean, until a bear
Wow.
rips it apart, I'm going to keep using it because the more weathered they are, the better they look.
Yeah.
Out in the wilderness. So,
right. Yeah,
anyways, well, hey man, I'm excited to see what you guys do, and I think the the call you guys did, the quota, I think that's getting people excited. I know I've had a lot of people send me, hey, check these guys out, check their call out. So I know people are excited about it, and that gets people excited and in the mountains and filling tags. So you guys are doing good stuff.
yeah. Same with you, man. You're inspiring with all the stuff you're doing around bears, and yeah, it's been fun to watch. So, and thanks for taking the time to do this. This was a awesome conversation. I'm sure we'll circle back and do it again. In fact, we should do this again post season. Kind of give a rundown of your experiences this year. Be
Yeah,
fun.
we could do that.
Cool.
Cool.
Well, we can end it here. Again, thanks for taking the time, and we will see you on the next episode.